Hi there, my name's Jackie Decker, and this is part 2 of multiplying, expanding, and factoring. You want to start with part 1, which is about using base 10 materials to help our students understand multiplication. After you've done that, now it's time to dig into algebra tiles to move towards factoring and expanding quadratics. Again, it's important for us to help students understand why the different tiles have different names. And in this case, it's based on the area of those algebra tiles. So you could show this image to students and say, which color represents the area of the shape? And students are going to tell you, well, it's red because it's the space inside the shape. What is the area is going to be a harder one, a little bit of wait time and productive struggle. And we're hoping that students remember that the area of a rectangle or a square is the length times the width. So starting over here, the area is 1 multiplied by 1, which gives us 1. That's why those little guys are called the 1 tiles. The larger one, the rod, is 1 by x, which gives it an area of x. Some students are really going to want that to be a 5, because if they put 5 ones beside it, it's really close, but it's not exactly correct. So we really want to help students understand that that's representing an unknown number. We might ask them to think about that being a stretchy material that can be larger or smaller, but we really need them to understand that that x tells us we don't know how long it is. It's unknown, so we're just going to call that x. And if we then have a tile that is unknown by unknown, or x by x, we've got that area of x squared. This will help students remember the names of the tiles because they know why they have their names. So once we know that, we want to make sure students remember how to represent polynomials. They've probably done this in grade 9, but always a good idea to reactivate. So we're going to do that. We're going to have tiles on everyone's desk so that they know they're serious learning tools, because we know students need to start in that concrete. We're going to look around the room. We can see everyone's got x squared plus 5x plus 6. We started with small numbers. We started with positive numbers because we want to build understanding of factoring and expanding right now. We're going to worry about our integers and our positives and negatives later. Once students have done that, we're going to practice a few more. Here's another one with nice small positive numbers. Here's another one with small positive numbers. And they've got those tiles all ready to go. Now we're going to say, can you build a rectangle with those tiles? So if you have an x squared, 5 x's, and 6 unit tiles, what might a rectangle look like? Once we've got one built, we're going to leave it there, and we're going to build the second one. Then we're going to leave those there and build a third one. And we're going to look at those with students. We're going to say, here are our rectangles. You'll notice we're not worried about color right now. We're not worried about positive and negative. We're going to worry about that later. Right now, all we care about is the area model of multiplication. We're interested in how the length and the width and the area of these rectangles are related to each other. And we're just going to put that up and say to students, what are you noticing? And they're going to tell us some different things, and we're going to record all those noticings. We're going to ask them what they wonder. We're going to record those wonderings, and then we're going to push their thinking a little bit. And we're going to put this up there because we're hoping students have told us how long and wide those rectangles are. If not, we might have had to prompt them for that information. And we're just going to put this information in front of them and ask them if they notice anything. We are not going to teach them a rule at this time. We're just going to let students do some thinking for themselves. We're going to put the second one up also. We're going to put the third one up. And students will start to be noticing some things. And if we put all 3 of these quadratics up with their area model on the left and their length width model on the right, we can call them that instead of standard form and factored form if we want to. And we're just going to ask students what they notice. We're going to give them some time to discover the rules. We often teach them with an acronym like MAN. We want them to see for themselves what those relationships are. Once they understand those relationships, and I've seen students discover this for themselves in grade 10 applied and academic math classes. Once they've discovered them for themselves, we're just going to keep practicing. We're going to keep going from the area model to the length width model. We're going to compare and contrast some different ones, and then we're going to start going the other way. And we should be able to go back and forth between factoring and expanding once students have an understanding of how to use the tiles to do this. We're going to ask them to do some thinking about that. And then we really want to connect what they're doing with the tiles to the algebra. So we might ask them to do something like this, where they're really thinking about the equation for the rectangles, as well as the area and the length and width of them, and the connections between them. It's in those connections that we're going to build deeper understanding. Thanks for listening.